A high-stakes election in Taiwan, and just moments ago, the opposition has conceded, paving the way for the ruling DPP's Lai Ching-te to win the presidency. He'd take over later this year in May. The island also holding parliamentary elections. Together, they will chart the trajectory for Taiwan over the next 4 years. Domestically, the top issues were sluggish economy, expensive housing, but hanging over every election, there is China. The race saw the governing party, which had emphasized Taiwanese sovereignty, against an opposition that had favored reviving engagement with China. For more, let's speak to Elizabeth Larus, an adjunct fellow at the Pacific Forum and author of Politics and Society in Contemporary China. She joins us on the line from Taipei. Hello to you, Elizabeth. Thank you for speaking to us. Did this election, in the end, just come down to continuity?
Oh, yes, that was a big part of it. Remember, as you mentioned, all politics are local. And so the cost of housing is very expensive here. Wages are low. And so people are, somewhat discontented, but they did not see that the other two parties would have made much of a difference in improving the situation. Certainly, Lai Ching-te, who was vice president, is now will be president-elect. And then Bi Kim-hsiao, who was Taiwan's ambassador to the United States, they together have a lot of experience. And I think experience really won the day. They have international and very strong domestic credentials. And I believe that a lot of people in Taiwan value that over what the other parties had to offer.
Yeah, and as you're speaking to us, we're seeing the concession speech from the opposition's Ho Yo-yi. Elizabeth, moving forward, the DPP has seen under outgoing President Tsai Ing-wen, she refused to recognize the one China policy. China had a record number of incursions into Taiwanese airspace this past year. What do you expect? How will China respond?
We will see more incursions into Taiwan's identification zone. Its airspace and its identification zone actually are two different things. But we will see more aggression on the part of China. Beijing would not talk to the Thai government. They did not even engage in party-to-party talks the way that the Communist Party did with the nationalists, the opposition, that now defeated again opposition. So they certainly will not even see party-to-party talks. I expect that we will see China use a lot of the tools in its toolkit that you and I probably can't even anticipate. If Beijing could not tolerate the Tsai administration, they will probably tolerate a Lai Ching-te administration even less. Lai Ching-te, years ago, had been more outspoken about Taiwan's permanent political separation from China. He certainly toned that rhetoric down, but China, it remembers some of those comments. And so it could be everything from, fruits or vegetables from Taiwan suddenly having some kind of a blight or a pest or something like that. It'll be Taiwan businesses in China don't have their records in order. And certainly we will see Beijing further trying to continue to squeeze Taiwan's diplomatic space by trying to take away what's left of Taiwan's diplomatic partners.
Yeah, in Taiwan, we should say, the self-ruled island, but not recognized as a country internationally. Why is it so important geopolitically?
Oh, for many reasons. Well, first of all, it is an ally and a partner of the United States. So it's very important to the United States for its strategic location. Taiwan is located in what is called the first island chain, which runs from Japan all the way down past Taiwan, Philippines, down to Indonesia and Malaysia. And so whoever controls first island chain controls maritime supremacy in the Western Pacific, close into China. And so if China were to ever control Taiwan, it would control that whole area there. So that's quite paramount. But again, as a political entity, Taiwan is a democracy. And the United States sees Taiwan as a fellow traveler. And the United States very much supports democracies, as Japan and South Korea, of course, support Taiwan as a democracy. And so, as China becomes much stronger militarily, not so much economically now, but militarily, there's a risk that at some point China will flex its muscles even more than it's been doing so, and Taiwan is in its crosshairs.
Yeah, and I'm curious about that. Earlier, you mentioned Lai Ching-te used to have some more fiery rhetoric, and he's toned that down in this campaign. I don't know if you saw this poll by Commonwealth magazine, but it said about half of Taiwanese voters, are concerned about the possibility of a war in the next 5 years. Is it a generational divide about how the Taiwanese view China, or not?
Oh, it's partly generational. It's partly if you identify as Taiwanese or, from the mainland at some point. I think, a lot of young people really like the third candidate, Ko Wen-je. And a lot of young people are, concerned about war because so much of it has been in the media. It's been in the Western media, it's been in the US media. Life here goes on as usual. And so it is increasingly in the back of people's minds, but that's where I would put really the back of people's minds. The greater concern is day to day. The cost of housing, the low wages, and over-educated youth now for the job opportunities here. So those are the issues that really resonate. Yeah, there's been talk of war, but both China and the United States at least have said that they prefer a peaceful resolution to the Taiwan issue, and it's really questionable if Xi Jinping wants to use force and is able to use force in the next few years. So I think, honestly, we need to cool a lot of that war rhetoric.
Yeah, one final thought. Taiwan also holding these parliamentary elections. We're still awaiting final results, of course. What will be the first order of business for the parliament? And are we sure the DPP will also perform, maybe win a majority in the parliament?
No, it doesn't look like they're going to win a majority. I don't even know if they're going to win a plurality. I've been watching, the numbers out of the Central, Election Commission, and what I'm seeing very slowly but gradually is actually Taiwan People's Party (TPP), that third party. It's taking votes away little by little from DPP. We might see the KMT, that is the Nationalist Party, having a plurality in the legislature. And what a lot of people are talking about here is if that happens, the former mayor of Kaohsiung, but he was also the former presidential candidate for KMT in the last election in 2020, could he possibly become speaker? He is an at-large party candidate. And so if he is in fact elected on the party list, we might actually see him as speaker of the legislature. And what we might see, honestly, is divided, government, DPP in the executive yuan and TPP and KMT having a significant presence in the legislative yuan, with possibly KMT. I'm watching the numbers. They might actually get a plurality.
And Elizabeth, thank you very much for breaking that down for us. Elizabeth Larus speaking to us from Taipei. Thank you.